When I married David, I thought I had everything figured out. He was kind, stable, successful, everything I thought I needed in a partner. I had spent years trying to build a life that looked perfect from the outside. The house, the job, the social circle, the husband. But life has a strange way of revealing what's real beneath the surface. I learned that not from David, but from his son, my stepson, Luke. Luke was 17 when David and I got married. We had met a few times before the wedding, and although he was polite, there was a distance in his eyes. He barely spoke during dinners and spent most of his time locked in his room with headphones on. I didn't take it personally at first. After all, I wasn't trying to replace his mom. I just wanted to be another caring adult in his life. But what I didn't expect was how much he would change me. My name is Claire, by the way. I'm a 42-year-old interior designer based in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've always loved order, symmetry, and elegance. I believed emotions should be tucked away, neatly arranged like throw pillows. That's how I was raised, and that's how I lived. Until Luke started to challenge every piece of that carefully designed life. It all started one rainy Friday night. David was away on a business trip, and I was home alone with Luke. He came down from his room, surprisingly, and slouched into the kitchen just as I was pouring myself a glass of red wine. "You cookin' anything?" he asked, avoiding eye contact. His voice startled me. It was the first casual question he'd ever asked me. "I was just thinking of making some pasta. Want some?" He shrugged. "Sure. Better than frozen pizza." That was the first dinner we shared without David, and to my surprise, we talked, really talked. It was mostly about school, music, and his plans after graduation. But then he asked something unexpected. "So, why did you marry my dad?" I blinked. "Why do you ask?" "I don't know," he said, spinning his fork on the table. "You guys don't really laugh much. Just feels like two adults coexisting." The honesty hit me like a slap. And the sad part? He wasn't wrong. I thought I'd built a life with all the right boxes checked, but I'd forgotten about connection, about love that wasn't just practical, but alive. I gave him a tight smile and brushed it off. But that question lingered in my mind long after he'd gone back upstairs. Over the next few weeks, Luke and I grew closer. Not in a conventional mother-son way, but as two humans trying to understand each other. He'd come to me for advice, sometimes about girls, sometimes about life, and I'd find myself being more honest with him than I'd been with anyone else. He asked big questions. Ones that forced me to think. One night he asked, "Did you ever want kids of your own?" I paused. That question was heavier than it looked. I tried to get pregnant years ago, in my first marriage. It ended in miscarriage and a lot of silence. That pain had shaped me more than I'd admitted to anyone, including David. "I did," I finally said. "But it didn't work out." Luke nodded slowly. "You would have been a good mom." That night, I cried in the shower. Not because I was sad, but because someone saw me, really saw me, for the first time in years. Spring came. Luke got accepted into a college in New York. I was proud of him, but something in me twisted at the thought of him leaving. The house felt warmer when he was around, more alive. And that realization scared me. David remained oblivious to our changing dynamic. He was busy, detached, more focused on numbers and meetings than moments. I tried talking to him, suggesting a weekend trip, a dinner date, something to reconnect. But he'd wave it off with, "We're fine, Claire. You always overthink." Was I overthinking? Or was I finally waking up? One evening, I came home from work exhausted. My head throbbed, and my heart felt even heavier. Luke was in the living room watching an old film. He paused it when I walked in and asked, "Bad day?" I sat beside him and said, "Just a realization kind of day." "What did you realize?" "That I don't know who I am anymore." He didn't try to fix it. He just sat quietly beside me. That silence was more comforting than 100 empty conversations with David. A week later, I found a note in my purse. It was from Luke. Claire. I don't know if you realize this, but you've helped me more than anyone. You listened. You never pretended. I always thought adults were just broken kids in suits, but you showed me they can still grow. I'm gonna miss you when I leave. But I want you to promise me something. Figure out what makes you happy. Not what's right or expected. What makes your soul feel like music. Because you deserve that. I clutched that note like it was oxygen. That letter changed everything. I started therapy. I began journaling, walking alone in the mornings, reading books about self-worth, and revisiting passions I had buried. I remembered how much I loved painting before life got too busy. So, I set up a small corner in the house with a canvas and paints. Luke would come peek in sometimes and smile. "You look more like you now," he'd say. By the time he left for college, I had changed. I was still Claire, but a more honest version. David, on the other hand, didn't understand the shift. He grew distant. He resented the fact that I was no longer trying to impress anyone. Eventually, we separated. Not out of bitterness, but because we both realized we wanted different things. It was hard. Really hard. But for once, I didn't shrink from the pain. I let it shape me. Luke and I kept in touch often. He'd call between classes or send me voice notes from the park. He once said, "You know, for someone who didn't have kids, you kinda saved me." But the truth is, he saved me too. He showed me that connection matters more than perfection. That life isn't about fitting into roles, but about finding people who make you feel whole. He showed me how powerful it is to be seen, to be heard, and to be real. He showed me who I really am, and what I need. Today, I run my own interior design studio from home. It's small, but it's filled with love and freedom. I travel sometimes, I volunteer at a youth center, and yes, I still paint. And in my studio, pinned right above my desk, is Luke's note. It reminds me every day that life isn't something to endure, it's something to live. And I'm finally doing just that.